Why no one ever escapes ADX Florence. The story begins at the peak of tension. Imagine an inmate inside ADX Florence pacing in his cell. He's been planning for months, studying every bolt, every lock, every guard movement. This is not just any inmate. He's one of the most dangerous men in the country, locked inside America's toughest prison. Tonight, he's ready. He believes he's found the one weakness in the system that no one else has ever noticed. With trembling hands, he reaches for a small, sharpened piece of metal hidden inside his mattress. He thinks this will be his way out. But as soon as he tries to test the steel mesh window, something happens. The metal bends, his hand starts to bleed, and the sound of footsteps approaches his cell door. Was he caught already? Or could he still pull it off before the guards notice? The truth is, no one has ever escaped ADX Florence, not once. And tonight, the inmate is about to discover why. Now, let's rewind. ADX Florence, built in the remote desert of Colorado, is known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies. The prison was designed for the country's most dangerous criminals: terrorists, cartel leaders, gang bosses, and violent killers. From the outside, it looks like an ordinary high-security facility. But on the inside, it's a fortress. Every wall, every camera, every piece of steel has one purpose: to make escape impossible. Inmates spend 23 hours a day, locked inside tiny concrete cells, with windows so narrow they can't even see the mountains outside. The cells are soundproof, keeping prisoners from communicating with each other. Meals are pushed through slots in the doors, and when inmates are allowed outside, it's in a small caged area that looks more like a kennel than a yard. But even in a place built like this, men still dream of escape. Some scratch plans into the walls. Some try to bribe guards. Others spend years plotting in silence. The idea of breaking free becomes an obsession, because at ADX Florence, prisoners know this is a life sentence inside a tomb of concrete and steel. One inmate, desperate and cunning, began to map out his escape. He thought he could loosen the bolts on his bed, break them down into tools, and use them to chip away at the concrete wall behind the sink. Every night, he worked quietly, hiding the dust in his mattress and keeping his movements small enough to avoid the cameras. He told himself it was possible. He told himself others had failed because they weren't smart enough. But soon, his plan would collide with the terrifying reality of ADX Florence's security. Because the prison isn't just guarded by men, it's guarded by design itself. And on one dark night, when this inmate tried to take his first real step toward freedom, everything went wrong in an instant. The night was silent, the kind of silence that could make a man lose his mind. The inmate sat on the floor of his cell, his sharpened metal piece in one hand and his heart pounding like a drum. He pushed the metal against the tiny bolt at the edge of the sink, turning slowly, carefully, afraid the cameras might catch even the smallest flick of his wrist. At first, it seemed like it was working. The bolt moved slightly. Hope rushed through his body like fire. He whispered to himself, "This is it. This is my way out." But that hope didn't last. The bolt wasn't just steel. It was reinforced, designed to resist tampering. The more he turned, the louder the grinding sound became. Sweat rolled down his face. He wasn't just fighting the bolt. He was fighting the prison itself. And then it happened. A red light above the door flashed. A camera hidden in the corner caught the faint reflection of his movements. Within seconds, the sound of heavy boots echoed through the hall. He scrambled, trying to hide the tool under his mattress, but it was too late. The electronic locks clicked, and the steel door opened. A team of guards in black gear stormed inside, shields raised, batons ready. They didn't shout. They didn't waste a second. They pinned him down, his face pressed against the cold floor, his heart racing faster than ever before. For a brief moment, he thought they would drag him to the hole, the prison within the prison, where punishment was even harsher. But instead, something worse happened. The guards found his tool. They looked at him with cold eyes, and one of them said, "You think you're the first? You're not, and you won't be the last." Then came the humiliation. His mattress ripped apart, every inch of his cell torn down, every secret exposed. His dream of escape turned into dust right before his eyes. Still, as they carried him away, a dark thought burned in his mind. If no one has ever escaped ADX Florence, then why do so many still try? Is there a chance, even the smallest chance, that the impossible could one day be done? But as he was shoved into solitary confinement, a place darker and quieter than anything he had ever known, the inmate learned the hardest truth of all. ADX Florence doesn't just trap your body, it traps your mind. And deep inside those walls, another inmate, smarter, more dangerous, was already preparing a plan of his own. Deep in another wing of ADX Florence, far from the chaos of the first failed attempt, another inmate sat quietly in his cell. Unlike the others, he didn't waste energy scratching walls or bending metal. He knew the prison was designed to crush those kinds of dreams. His weapon wasn't strength, it was patience. This man was clever. He had been a leader on the outside, someone who knew how to manipulate people, how to turn weakness into opportunity. Inside ADX, he studied everything. When guards walked by, how long they lingered at each door, where the cameras pointed, even how the meal slots opened. He didn't just want to escape. He wanted to outsmart the system. For months, he pretended to follow the rules. He ate his meals, kept his cell neat, and never caused trouble. The guards started to see him as low risk. That was his trick. He was hiding in plain sight. Behind his calm eyes, he was building the most dangerous plan anyone had ever tried. One night, during his 1 hour of recreation in the outdoor cage, he noticed something strange. Above him, the sky stretched open, stars scattered across the dark Colorado night. But it wasn't the stars he focused on. It was the top of the cage. The bars didn't look as new as the walls inside. They were strong, yes, but not indestructible. If he could get through them, maybe, just maybe, he could reach the outer yard. But this wasn't a job for one man. He needed help. So he began sending messages, silent signals, small scratches on the walls when he walked past. Coded words slipped into conversation during rare moments near other prisoners. He built a secret network, a group of men as desperate as him. Together, they dreamed of freedom, whispering about the day they would climb out under the stars. Then came the night they were ready. He fashioned a tool from the metal edges of his food tray, hidden in his waistband. As the guard led him out to the cage, his heart thumped harder than ever before. He waited until the footsteps faded, then pressed the tool against the rusted edge of the bars. Sparks flew in the darkness. His hand shook, his breath grew heavy. Freedom was just inches away, and that's when it happened. A blinding light snapped on above the cage. Sirens wailed. The desert air filled with the roar of alarms, echoing off the mountains. Floodlights turned night into day, and within seconds, armed guards surrounded the cage. He had been set up. The prison already knew his plan. As guards wrestled him down, one of them whispered in his ear, "You can't beat the design. You can't beat Florence." But even after this disaster, the prison wasn't finished testing him. Because punishment in ADX is not just about stopping your body. It's about breaking your spirit. And soon, he would face something far worse than failure. Something that would prove once again why no one ever escapes ADX Florence. The failed attempt left the inmate bruised, shackled, and humiliated. But the worst was still ahead. In ADX Florence, when you try to break the rules, the prison doesn't just stop you. It makes sure you never dare again. After the sirens went quiet, he was dragged through cold concrete hallways. His wrists were cuffed so tightly they cut into his skin, and his ankles rattled with heavy chains. Step by step, he realized he wasn't being taken back to his regular cell. He was being led deeper into the prison, into the most feared place of all, the control unit. The control unit is where ADX breaks men completely. No books, no TV, no human contact. Just silence and walls so thick you can't even hear your own heartbeat. The cell lights burn 24 hours a day, and time stops existing. Days blur into nights, nights blur into days. When the guards threw him inside, the heavy steel door slammed shut with a final metallic echo. He pressed his hand against the concrete wall, already feeling the weight of endless isolation. It was colder here, emptier. He whispered to himself, "I'll find another way. They can't keep me here forever." But even as he said it, doubt crept in. Hours passed, then days, then weeks. The silence became torture. His own thoughts grew louder, and with no one to speak to, he started talking to the walls. Sometimes he thought he heard voices. Sometimes he thought the cameras were watching him. But then came the real breaking point. One night, without warning, the lights suddenly cut out. The cell fell into absolute darkness, so dark he couldn't see his own hand in front of his face. He pounded on the door, his voice cracking, but no one answered. Minutes turned into hours. The air felt heavier, his chest grew tighter. In that endless black, he realized the truth. ADX Florence didn't just keep him locked up. It controlled his very mind. By the time the lights flicked back on, something in him had changed. His escape dream had been crushed, replaced by something worse, fear. But while he sat broken, whispering to himself in that concrete tomb, another inmate just a few cells away was quietly studying the system, watching, waiting, planning. And unlike the others, this man believed he had found the one flaw in ADX Florence that no one else had ever seen before. Not far from the broken man in the control unit, another inmate was silently watching, learning, and preparing. This prisoner wasn't just strong, he was cunning. Unlike the others who tried to fight steel with scraps of metal, he looked for weakness in human behavior. Every day, he studied the guards. He counted the seconds between their patrols, noticed who lingered too long at a door, and even memorized the slight delay before the electronic locks clicked shut. He believed that if ADX Florence had a flaw, it wasn't in the walls or bars. It was in the people who ran it. His plan was simple but dangerous. Instead of attacking the prison, he would blend into it. He followed every rule. He kept his cell spotless, answered guards politely, and never made sudden moves. Slowly, he built trust. He wanted them to see him not as a threat, but as a model inmate. The desert winds outside may blow free across the Rockies, but inside ADX, there is no freedom. Only silence, concrete, and the heavy truth that escape is nothing more than a dream. And that's why, to this day, no one has ever escaped ADX Florence. The story of ADX Florence isn't just about steel doors and concrete walls. It's about how far a system will go to make escape impossible. Every failed attempt, every broken spirit, and every shattered dream proves one thing. Florence was built not just to hold men, but to erase the very idea of freedom. But here's the question. Does a place like this really keep the world safe, or does it simply bury its problems deep in the Rockies, where no one can see? What do you think? Should a prison like ADX Florence exist, or does it cross the line between justice and cruelty? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story shook you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because the next story we uncover might be even darker. And remember, inside the walls of ADX Florence, hope is the only thing truly locked away.